Boys and girls, we're going to be reading Daedalus and Icarus. It is a myth, and a myth tells how something in nature came to be the way it is, or explains why people act certain ways. Often, myths contain a lesson about bad behavior. Comprehension strategy, predicting. As you read, make predictions about what you think will happen later in the text. Then check to see whether your predictions are confirmed. This is our focus questions. Do we always recognize when we are taking a risk? And why do people take foolish risks? Daedalus and Icarus lived in great comfort in King Minos's palace, but they lived a life of prisoners. Their rooms were in the tallest palace tower, with beautiful views across the island. They ate delectable food and wore expensive clothes. But at night, the door to their fine apartment was locked, and a guard stood outside. It was a comfortable prison, but it was a prison even so. Daedalus was deeply unhappy. Every day he put seed out on the window sill for the birds. He liked to study their brilliant colors, the clever overlapping of their feathers, the way they soared on the sea wind. It comforted him to think that they at least were free to come and go. The birds had only to spread their wings and they could leave Crete behind them, whereas Daedalus and Icarus must stay forever in their luxurious cage. Young Icarus could not understand his father's unhappiness. But I like it here, he said. The king gave us gold and this tall tower to live in. Daedalus groaned. But to work for such a wicked man, Icarus, and to be prisoner all our days, we shan't stay, we shan't. But we can get away. But we can't get away, can we? Said Icarus. How can anybody escape from an island? Fly? He snorted with laughter. Daedalus did not answer. He scratched his head and stared out of the window at the birds pecking seed on the sill. From that day onward, he got up early each morning and stood at the open window. When a bird came for the seed, Daedalus begged to spare him one feather. Then each night, when everyone else had gone to bed, Daedalus worked by candlelight on his greatest invention of all. Early mornings, late nights, a whole year went by. Then one morning Icarus was awakened by his father shaking his shoulder. Get up, Icarus, and don't make a sound. We are leaving Crete. But how? It's impossible. Daedalus pulled out a bundle from under his bed. I've been making something, Icarus. Inside were four great folded fans of feathers. He stretched them out on the bed. They were wings. I sewed the feathers together with strands of wool from my blanket. Now hold still. Daedalus melted down a candle and daubed his son's shoulders with sticky wax. Yes, I know it's hot, but it will soon cool. While the wax was still soft, he stuck the wings to Icarus' shoulder blades. Now, you must help me put on my wings, son. When the wax sets hard, you and I will fly away from here as free as birds. I am scared, whispered Icarus as he stood on the narrow window ledge, his knees knocking and his huge wings drooping down behind. The lawns and courtyards of the palace lay far below. The royal guards look at small ants. This won't work. Courage, son, said Daedalus. Keep your arms out wide and fly close to me. Above all, are you listening, Icarus? Yes, father. Above all, don't fly too high. Don't fly too close to the sun. Don't fly too close to the sun, Icarus repeated, with his eyes tight shut. Then he gave a cry as his father nudged him off the window sill. He plunged downward with a crack, the feathers behind him filled with wind, and Icarus found himself flying. Flying! I'm flying, he crowed. The guards looked up in astonishment and wagged their swords and pointed and shouted, Tell the king, Daedalus and Icarus are flying away. By dipping first one wing, then the other, Icarus found that he could turn to the left and the right. The wind tugged at his hair, his legs trailed out behind him. He saw the fields and streams as he had never seen them before. Then they were out over the sea. The seagulls pecked at him angrily, so Icarus flew higher, where they could not reach him. He copied their shrill cry and taunted them. You can't catch me. Now, remember, don't fly too high, called Daedalus, but his words were drowned by the screaming of the gulls. I am the first boy ever to fly. I'm making history. I shall be famous, thought Icarus as he flew up and up, higher and higher. At last, Icarus was looking the sun itself in the face. Think you're the highest thing in the sky, do you? He jeered. I can fly just as high as you. Higher even. He did not notice the drops of sweat on his forehead. He was so determined to outfly the sun. Soon its vast heat beat on his face and on his back and on the great wings stuck on with wax. The wax softened, the wax trickled, the wax dripped. One feather came unstuck, then a plume of feathers fluttered slowly down. Icarus stopped flapping his wings. His father's words came back to him clearly now. Don't fly too close to the sun. With a great sucking noise, the wax on his shoulders came unstuck. Icarus tried to catch hold of the wings, but they just folded up in his hands. He plunged down, his two fists full of feathers, down and down and down. The clouds did not stop his fall. The seagulls did not catch him in their beaks. His own father could only watch as Icarus hurtled head first into the glittering sea and sank deep down among the sharks and eels and squid. And all that was left of proud Icarus was a litter of waxy feathers floating on the sea. All right, boys and girls, this is a reading. You might read it by yourselves. Again,